Right. What's up, everyone? Kevin Allen here, aka the Fantasy Football Geek, and we're breaking down the Vikings, the Redskins, Thursday Night Football. What a game. What a game. What a game. I'm talking about a 17-point favorite in the Vikings at home here. Redskins with just a 12.5-point game total. It's not a lot of scoring. Not a lot of scoring for the Redskins. So we're basically looking at yet another smash game in primetime. Now, we just saw something like this play out on Monday night, so we have an idea of how these things go. All right, the Redskins, they suck. The Vikings, they're at home. They're a great defense. So the first thing we want to understand and we want to plan for is an approach that assumes the most likely outcome will happen. And the most likely outcome is the Vikings smash here. The Redskins look like shit. We may see a quarterback benching on the Redskins with Case Keenum. His job is not secure. We may see a point where we get some garbage time players from the Vikings. So there's a lot to cover. There's a lot of some side notes, some potential things that we're not sure about, and we have to see how it all goes down. But let's get started at the top. And let's see, I've got FanDuel pulled up. Let's start with DraftKings this time. All right, so what you're looking at here is our DFS Army coach's note sheet. Anybody who's here watching this live on YouTube, you're getting a little free preview of what we do for every single slate for every sport at DFS Army. This is why we are better than everyone else, because we have breakdowns that look like this, aside from our optimizer and aside from all the other cool stuff. So what is this? We spent a lot of time looking over this game and coming up with potential plays for the captain spot, potential plays for the flex spot, some exposures that you might want to consider. Considering, again, these are put out. So, for example, you see a Vernon Davis, he's not actually going to play. He's going to be out. But we'll go over every player from both teams. We're going to start at the top with the basics and then move on from there and find ourselves some turds. Who the turds? We're going to find them. And I have some special fun things planned for some of these turds. So stick around. This is going to be a fun breakdown. Now, let's just start at the top. The most basic approach I think most people are going to use. They're going to want to use Dalvin Cook in the captain spot. He is the stud of the year, the stud of the season. He's going to be super high owned. I would guess across FanDuel and DraftKings in the range of 90% ownership. %. So if you think, for example, that maybe Dalvin Cook will get an in-game injury and you're trying to win $250,000 to first right here in the NFL $1 million Thursday Night Showdown, you could play an approach where Dalvin Cook just fails. Could happen. You'll be one of, 10% of lineups that doesn't have him in there. So if you want to take that shot and go for the $250K, I mean, there's certainly a higher odds of an in-game injury to Dalvin Cook than there is of, than there is the 10% of lineups that, or the hell am I saying? Than there is of your odds of winning the $250K with him in there. In other words, in a contest like this with 117,000 lineups, you got 117,000 shot with a lineup if you're rolling out Cook pretty much in the lineup, because he'll be in, like I said, 90+% of all the lineups that are made. So, what happens if something crazy happens? He doesn't get any touchdowns. He doesn't pay off on this crazy high salary. So there are crazy strategies that you can employ, but the most basic one would be just take this guy and put him right here. Now, the issue when you roll out Dalvin Cook, as you will see with the salaries, is when you roll out Dalvin Cook as your captain, you really Cousins, Diggs, and then you have nothing left. So you literally cannot pull this off. You can't have Cook, Cousins, and Diggs together with Cook as the captain, unless you're willing to just throw away some spots. Now, even though I have some cheapies that you could use, I mean, I don't like it. So, it's a way to go. But most people are going to want to start with Dalvin Cook here. I will open up a couple of other, I think the other potential player that could get there is Diggs. If you look at his upside with no Thielen there, I mean, he's going to get a lot of looks if they want to throw at all. If they bother throwing, a lot of those throws are going to go to Stephon Diggs. So I don't mind this. Again, if you try to use the trio, even though you're saving a little bit by putting Diggs in there, if you try to use this trio, you're once again stuck with not a lot of salary on DraftKings, so keep that in mind. You'd have to use like Ham or something like that. I mean, at this point, there's just not much you can do. Here's Ham. Make it all work. This guy scores 2 fantasy points per game on average. Had it most weeks, he'll get a target or 2. Yeah, there it is. So, that seems like a way to lose. I don't like putting zeros in my lineup. I don't like putting zeros in my lineup. Yes, Antoine's asking if both QBs are contrarian. Yes, anything that has a lot of Redskins in it is going to be contrarian. No one wants to play the Redskins here. So let's just run through each player because, again, you're probably going to have to make a decision for 2 of these 3 players. So let's keep that in mind. If I'm choosing 2, I'm actually probably going away from Kirk Cousins. I'm going to go Diggs, Cook. I'll probably use Wendy Smalls. Well, we'll go over all of these guys here. I want to break down each player individually, and then you'll make your own decisions. As a matter of fact, Vikings defense in play though. But let's start with the Vikings. Okay, so let's clear this. Let's take a look at just the Vikings. Dalvin Cook, again, great play, putting up big numbers every single week. Hasn't had really a bad game outside of the Philadelphia game where, we knew Philly coming in was a very good run defense. Kirk Cousins been on fire lately. There's some revenge narrative going on. He's facing his old team in the Redskins. You like that? You like that? Two to 1 odds that he yells, "You like that" at some point. I hope he's mic'd up for this game. Stephon Diggs. With no Thielen there, Diggs is going to get his looks. I mean, I don't know how much they're going to have to throw, but I don't think it matters. The Redskins don't have any corners that can slow down a Diggs here. I think he's going to have a great game. Solid captain play, solid flex play. Both sides, doesn't matter. All right, coming back to it. Vikings defense. Going to want some shares of Vikings defense at the captain as well. This Redskins team is pretty... they're 17-point favorites. What do you want? That's where you play the defense when they're 17-point favorites. Couple turnovers. Vikings defense could be a little bit less chalky. You'll probably only see about 10 to 15% ownership of Vikings defense. But when you put them in here, all of a sudden you can afford a couple of these spots. Not really, but a little bit, kind of. Get a little ham in there, a little ham. A little Wendy Smalls, Wendy Smizzles. So you can kind of afford it. Anyway, Vikings D, where was I? Okay, here is our WR2 for the Vikings this week. Olabisi Johnson. When Thielen went out last week, Olabisi stepped into his role. That's what I think Olabisi will continue to do. He'll play probably in the slot where Thielen normally played. You can get a few targets. Got a reasonable price. 14 points last week, 8 targets. So this is the guy that seemed to step in. There's 2 other players that are probably going to step in and pick up some of that and pick up some of that target share if there are many targets. Remember that Cousins is perfectly fine with throwing 10 passes in a game where his team is dominating, or 20 or 30 targets. Like, he doesn't throw a lot of targets either way. Yeah. Chakahan is asking if revenge narratives are really a thing, and the only time it's a thing is when it's Steve Smith Sr. Normally, really, no. But if Steve Smith was in there, yeah. So, anywho, Kirk Cousins might not need to throw a lot. You might get one of these games. So, again, for me, he's the lowest priority because I do think the Vikings are going to lean on the run. That's the most likely outcome. But Olabisi Johnson, not quite as cheap as I would like to see. I'm not going to load up on that, but he'll get a couple targets. Now, here's an interesting spot. Dolph and Irv Smith. What the Vikings are likely to do, because Thielen is out, and because this feels like a running game smash spot, they're going to run their 2 tight end personnel package out there quite a bit. And they're gonna run their 2 tight end personnel out there quite a bit. And so if you're trying to decide between these 2 guys, good luck with that. I looked at the numbers, and the football's as likely to go to Smith as it is to Rudolph. There's no one better than the other in this spot. If you look at the targets for Rudolph, they've been shit all year anyway. Smith is a little bit more of the, quote, pass catcher, but not really. Like, it's been so similar that it's just a 1A, it's a 1A, 1A situation. No preference. No preference. Okay. Now, Brian's asking about FanDuel lineup construction. Yes, that's coming next. We'll discuss. I started this week with DraftKings, so FanDuel will be next up. But I'm going to break down all of the players first, and then we'll jump over to FanDuel. But I got a little something special for you guys for this next player. Okay, here is GPP special number 1. Now, what happens when the Vikings are smashing, as the Vegas lines predict? Okay, so they're 17-point favorites. Dalvin Cook, their fucking super stud, is out there doing his thing for 2.5 quarters. Now the Vikings are up 28 to nothing. There's been a defensive score. Diggs got a tutty. Cook's got a touchdown. He's already had a great game. What are they going to do? I'm gonna give you an audio representation of what might happen. What's that name? Matheson. Matheson. There's a million things he hasn't done because he's a young player, rookie in this league, playing behind a stud. Well, guess what? If you want a sleeper for tonight's slate, his name is Alexander Matheson. The Queen likes Alexander Matheson too. So we must be on to something. Alexander Matheson. I'm not done with the audios for this breakdown. But yes, I'm interested in Matheson because A, he's pretty cheap. Not cheap enough at $4,400. DraftKings wisely raised up his salary a little bit. But, I mean, there's just a really good chance that this guy is going to come into this game at some point and get some run. If the smash game is happening, that's right, Alex. When he plays, they're ahead. When the smash game is happening, they're going to bring out Matheson in the fourth quarter to close it out. And for this salary and in this style of game, that could be really interesting. So a sneaky, I don't know how sneaky it is, GPP play right there, Alexander Matheson. Now, who deters? That's one. Okay, we love the kicker, Danforth Bailey. Now, you might say, well, Dan Bailey missed a kick for the pressure. I don't give a fuck. I want kickers on teams that are favored. I don't care if he's a good kicker or a bad kicker. And as a matter of fact, it looks like he's hitting all his... he missed one last week, so that's a shame. Don't give a fuck. Good kicker, bad kicker, gets a 0 once in a while. I don't care. I love the kicker. 4K is a reasonable price. Again, DraftKings raised up the price on him. Brandon, let me get to the Washington next. Danforth Bailey. Okay, now we're getting some bigger turds. Okay, where my turds at? Laquan Treadwell. You will hear his name mentioned. Every couple of years, Laquan Treadwell will show up on a Showdown slate to fuck you over. Laquan Turdwell. He will show up on a Showdown to fuck you over. That's what he does. He's done it before. He knows how to do it. I don't really like him here, but, get a couple shares, 5%er, super turd, just in case he gets a couple of Thielen looks. Do I expect it to happen? No. All right, one more turd, CJ Ham. Now, why are we talking about CJ fucking Ham? Because he got a target last week and he scored. So he showed you that for 400, it's not out of the realm of possibility for him to get 8.4 fantasy points at the fullback position. Am I excited to use him? No. Is he going to be in more than 5% of my lineups? No. He's a fucking turd. They're probably not going to need the fullback in this game very much. But in case he does what he did, and in case that 400 allows a certain type of lineup construction that you couldn't get to without a $400 player because he's the cheapest viable, we have to keep him in mind. I'm getting to that, Chris. I'm getting to that. All right, let's talk about Washington and the ne'er-do-wells that we really probably don't want a whole lot of exposure to. And, let's start at the top. The one player that we like on the Redskins overall, there's only one player. There's only one talented player on this team. That is Scary Terry. I hope he finds a better nickname than Scary Terry. I'm going to be honest with you. I get a little bit of the douche chills even just saying it. I don't like saying it. But Terry McLaurin. We got to come up with a better name than Scary Terry. I'll think of something. I like the F1 fighter jet, McLaren, something. I saw something cooler than Scary Terry. All right, anyway, the F1 fighter. Terry's like the wide receiver that's interesting here. Now, yes, the Vikings have Xavier Rhodes, blah blah blah. We just saw that secondary get torched by Matt Stafford and company. So they are probably more vulnerable through the air than they are on the ground. Let's not make this into the New England Patriots defense. This isn't the Patriots. So it's possible for players from the Redskins to have a good game. And that's what we want to think about when we're trying to be a little bit different. Because let me tell you something. Everybody and their fucking mother is going to have a 5-to-1 stack with 5 Vikings and 1 player from the Redskins who I will name in song shortly as we get to him. In song. Not me singing. This one, I got a song. I got a song prepared. But I'm going to name that. But everybody's going to go 5-to-1 Vikings to Redskins because they just watched the fucking Patriots in a similar and a less favored, which was unbelievable, situation, show you what happens when a team is favored massively. Yeah, Antoine's going to go 3-3. He wants to be different. Going to go for the 250K. That's cool. That's how you get the 250. Now, can I think of 3 Vikings that I want to play? Probably not, but, if I thought it looked good, I would win the 250K. I encourage you to, what I'm trying to present are scenarios for your approach to the game. So I'm telling you, 70% of these lineups are going to have a 5-to-1 approach. Vikings to everybody watched the Jets. Everybody saw that game. This has been going on all season. These horrible games. Really? It's been going on all season. So Terry McLaurin, the most talented guy. Case Keenum, I can't get on board. There's very few situations where Case Keenum at 8K is scoring enough here to to make value. So let's see what. Actually, let me take a look. Let's see what Josh has here for any of these guys. He's got 5 to 10% Case Keenum as a DraftKings. I'm not interested at all. I'll go 0. Okay. It's been things. Quinn will be the slate breaker. Terry Quinn, a guy who's never exceeded 50 yards in a game in his entire NFL career, is going to break the slate. Could happen. Could happen. You know very well the cat doesn't listen to me. You know this. The cat rules the house. She doesn't care that I'm on a pod. Case Keenum, 5 to 10%. I mean, I don't need him at all. Okay, I'm very happy. I'll get some exposure to Terry McLaurin. I'll get some of that. I don't need Case Keenum. Some people are talking about playing Dwayne Haskins for the old. You made me laugh, Josh. You made me laugh. Some people want to play Dwayne Haskins or Colt McCoy as the Case Keenum gets benched. The backup quarterback comes in, does some damage, has a good game, etc., play. But, as I'm looking at it, they priced them up, and it's like, for $7,400, how much damage is Colt McCoy really going to do in the fourth quarter? Or how much damage is a horrible Dwayne Haskins going to do in the second half? So, yeah, Antoine has a GPP contrarian mindset. I like it, Antoine. I like that. So who are the other pieces here? We got Terry McLaurin. Fine. Adrian Peterson, that's a no for me. Is there a revenge narrative going on here? Yes. But he's got a high ankle sprain. He's got a low ankle sprain. He's got a medium ankle sprain. He wants to play anyway. It's his old team. He wants revenge. But desire and outcomes are not the same. This is not a Vikings defense that is going to be, soft to a player, especially like Adrian Peterson. Even with, the only way I could see Adrian Peterson doing anything. Oh, Josh is here. Okay, that's good. I'm glad you're here. Josh, I don't like Case Keenum. I don't want to use him at all. 5% in the flex. I'm not using him as a captain. Now with Adrian Peterson, is he going to play? He might suit up. Is he actually going to be effective? I say no. It's a terrible matchup for him. Again, outside of like the Vikings giving him some sort of a thanks for your great work as a great Vikings player. We're going to gift you a touchdown, kind of like the way that once I recall, I believe it was either Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre gifted some defensive end a sack. I think it was Michael Strahan a sack so that he could break a record at the end of the last game of the season. Antoine Murphy busted out a name of a player I've never heard of. Steven Sims Jr., the slate breaker. Never even heard of him. Don't know what team he's on. Is he in this game? Is he a friend of Steve Smith Sr.? I don't know who that guy is. But let's keep going through this. Peterson, hurt. Chris Thompson, hurt. Paul Richardson, low exposure guy. Gets a couple targets every week. Sometimes more, sometimes less. Okay. 5 to 10% turd. The best thing about Paul Richardson is he'll be out there every single play. That's fine. Trey Quinn has never had a good game in his career. Will this be the first one? Slate breaker. Will this be the first good game? And it could get a couple of receptions. 3,600 is cheap. Again, all of these players are low ownership turds for the most part. I can't surmise a scenario where I want to load up on Paul Richardson and Trey Quinn. Now, there is a certain kind of game flow that happens where the Vikings are dominating with a run, the Redskins fall behind, and they're kind of throwing a lot late. And with the late throwing, maybe some of these turd wide receivers get a couple of receptions, and they're cheap enough, and they just find their way onto the perfect lineup. But, good luck figuring out who that is. Now, Dwayne Hopkins, Dustin Hopkins, no thank you. Again, I want kickers from favored teams. Jeremy Sprinkle, playable. Going to play him. Vernon Davis is out, so you can. He's a guy you could sprinkle into your lineups. Little Jeremy Sprinkle into lineups. Let's look at the Steve Smith, Steve Sims Jr. guy. Let's see what the story is. Antoine is a big Steve Smith Jr. Steven Sims. I'm a big Steve Smith Sr. fan. That's me. That's who I like. Call me Peter. Steven Sims Jr. I'm a big Steve Smith Sr. guy, not a big Steven Sims Jr. guy. But it looks like he did have a couple of games where he got a couple of targets, and there was even a situation where he scored and did a good thing on some sort of an end-around running play and got 14 fantasy points. That is a slate-breaking score. And as a matter of fact, you know what? This turd, for all his turdliness, he seems to score a couple of points each week. So, Antoine, I'm giving it to you. Steven Sims Sr., super turd. But I've got a special for you guys. My favorite player. Wendy Smalls is the illest. Chicken heads be clucking in my bathroom fucking. Words of genius, fellows and ladies and gentlemen. That's why he was the greatest. Biggie Smalls legitimately was the illest. His styles were played. Your styles are played out like Arnold. What you talking about, Willis? That's all I got to say about that. Wendy Smallwood. That's right. Wendy motherfucking Smallwood. But yeah, no, everybody's going to be on Wendy Smallwood, man. I picked him up in my season-long leagues, too. Like, I'm desperate for a running back this week. I'm like, yeah, I'll roll out some Wendy Smalls. Now, what do I like about Wendy Smalls? He can catch passes. He can rush the football. So, he's going to be out there getting a lot of touches, right? He's 1,800 on DraftKings. His price per dollar floor ceiling, he's a must play. I don't know how you play it on DraftKings without this guy. Now, is he going to get you 25 points a la... is he going to get you Lats Murray points? 35? Hell no. Hell no. That's not what we're looking for, though. For 1,800, all we're trying to do is afford some other players. So Wendy Smalls is your guy. He is the illest. He's going to start. I don't believe in Adrian Peterson's ability to play. Could be wrong. Yeah, and about sneaky in a show. There are sneaky players, Andrew. There will be guys. Most weeks, somebody comes up. That's that Steven Sims Jr. thing. Somebody pops up. He's 5% owned. He gets the 14, and that's how it goes. FanDuel is next, Clay. Rewind to the beginning, though. So we're breaking down the players first. Then we'll talk site specifics. So that's your breakdown. Now, if I was going to make a cash lineup, here's what it would look like. First of all, I believe we covered all of the players. So first of all, I want the best guy in the captain spot. I want the best guy there. Now, I also want the wide receiver who I think is best in my lineup. Now, because we're going full blast Vikings onslaught, I want a piece of all the tutties, of all of the scoring. I'm going to put the kicker in there. I want the scoring. Now, I can consider Dolph. I can consider Smith. I can consider Matheson here. Even Olabisi Johnson. They're all in play. Vikings defense is playable. All you got to do now is see what fits. Now, if I try to put Captain Kirk in there. All I've got left is Steven Sims Jr. If AP goes down, I'm expecting Wendy Smallwood to get the touches. Talking about Reynolds from the practice squad. He's just there as a body. The guy who's going to get the looks is Wendy Smalls. So again, once I get to this point where this is the group that I think you basically have to have in your cash lineup, the last two spots are where you're going to compete with everybody else in my mind. Okay, so we can go a few different ways. We can go higher floor Vikings and then throw in like Ola BC or, Rudolph or one of these guys here. Again, I don't really want to pay up for a scary Terry, but you could do that. If you put Terry McLaurin in here, you've got enough left for Alexander Matheson. That's one way to go. So you can go that way. That's not a full onslaught. That'll get you any sort of points that the Redskins offense is producing because you've got Wendy Smalls and you've got their top running back, their top receiver, and you've got, just in case it's a blowout, you've got Matheson in here to close it out, right? Another way to go, and I'm not sure if this is a higher floor way again or what. I mean, you could use either Dolph or Irv Smith or both. I think, one of these two will get some action. I'm definitely going to use Bailey. I'm definitely using Diggs. I'm definitely using Smallwood. And I like Dalvin in the captain spot for cash. Beyond that, I'm going to leave you guys to make your own decisions on the last two spots. But I've given you a couple of options. You can, like I said, you can go down. Not there. That's not a cash plan. I shouldn't have clicked on that. We can go Cousins and then just throw away the last spot. We can go with Scary Terry and not do a complete onslaught, and then you have Scary Terry. No, we're changing it. Then Matheson or one of these guys. Really, Matheson's the only one left if you do that. Or you could take two of the middling. You got Olabisi. You can get Vikings defense and do something like that. Or if you don't like that, you can go with Rudolph. A lot of different ways to go. Cash game approach. All right, let's jump over to FanDuel. The fuck is this? Get out of here. All right, let's go over to FanDuel. Now, let's start with Josh's awesome notes for FanDuel so we could take a look at who the captains, and then we'll figure out who the turds. Yeah, Johnson, Olabisi Johnson. He is going to play the WR2 role. Got 8 targets last week for the Vikings. So, he'll get some involvement here. All right, so let's take a look at FanDuel. FanDuel, we want to use running backs or quarterbacks in the captain slot most of the time. I would actually approach this a little bit differently. Josh used Case Keenum and Adrian Peterson as the fillers with most of the exposure going to Cook and Cousins. I would actually throw in Stephon Diggs in here because I do think that Cousins could potentially hone in on Diggs to the point where Diggs outscores Cousins in this game, even on FanDuel. So I would absolutely include some Stephon Diggs in my captain MVP exposure on FanDuel. GPP only. The clear cash play is going to be Dalvin Cook. But I would include a little Stephon Diggs. Is there any other player that I would include? No. I'm not using Case Keenum. No, not feeling it. Not feeling that. I'm not using Adrian Peterson. Sorry. It's a no for me. Terry McLaurin. Probably not. So what I like about it is that really reduces the total number of variables in your lineup. If you've started off and said, oh shit, the pooch punt's running out, guys. I hope you're creating some lineups as we go here. I might have to load up the Dom station and make my lineups as we're chatting about this. But if we're reducing our set of options for MVP to these three, it's fewer variables to worry about. Much like the other game, here we put these three in here. Let's see what we can do to create a lineup. Now, we've got Irv Smith. We've got Alexander Matheson. I can just go like that and complete a lineup. Except they force you. Ooh. Look at this. I didn't even notice Wendy Small's price. When I said he was the illest before, that was before I realized he was the cheapest on FanDuel. So Wendy Smalls becomes an even better play on FanDuel. Now I can do whatever the fuck I want. I can get Olabisi. I can get Dan Bailey in there. Look at this cash lineup. I'm sorry, but I'm about to spend a lot of money on this lineup. Josh, I didn't even know. I didn't look at the salary. I was paying attention to DraftKings. I didn't look. It's fucking stone cold minimum salary. Wendy Smalls. So that's pretty sweet. You can afford to do whatever you want. How about that? Just scroll through. You don't even need Wendy Smalls half the time. You could go with Irv Smith. Actually, no, you do need one player. As I said, you need one player, for one turd from this team. So the way I'm going to do it for my mass multi-entry is I'm just going to scroll through it. I'm going to have a Terry McLaurin one. Now, you can't get these three and Terry and Wendy in there. It just doesn't work. But I'll have a Terry McLaurin one, some lineups like that. And again, I'll scroll through these spots. I'll have a lot of, I really love this for DraftKings. I'm worried that it's too easy to win on FanDuel tonight. Like that the amount of lineups I need to make are fewer. Haskins is dead man if you're getting funky. I don't know about that. Haskins sucks, and it's not a lock that Haskins will come in. That's the problem. We're really expecting, if you play Dwayne Haskins, what you're saying is not only will Keenum get benched at some point during this game, but that they'll go to Haskins over Colt McCoy. I'm not 100% sure that Colt McCoy wouldn't play unless he's not on the team or something has changed. Where's Colt? I mean, I'm not seeing an injury designation here, so oh, wow. Here we go. No, that was Sunday at Miami, October 13th. So we'll see. We'll pay attention to if he's inactive. Coach is saying Haskins is number 2. Okay. Okay. There it is. Then it's Dwayne Haskins for the crazy backup quarterback comes in scenario. Could happen. Got to get a couple shares of that. You almost have to get a couple shares of that just in case it does win. And you could be like, I played fucking Dwayne Haskins. What, you didn't play him? When everyone's like, how did anybody think about playing Dwayne Haskins? For FanDuel Cash, no. There are no other players on the Redskins besides Smallwood that I would probably consider. If you're talking about cash games, no. I don't see that as a smart path in cash. Again, if you're putting in McLaurin, who's the only other decent player on the Redskins, the pricing doesn't allow you to get these 3 studs. So in order to get McLaurin in there, I now have to sacrifice Captain Kirk. I don't like that. Do I really think Terry McLaurin is going to outscore Kirk? He could. But like, I'm not doing that. Do you want to put Smallwood in the MVP? I don't have a problem with it. That's fine. That's super contrarian. A guy who's going to be out there most of the game. Steve Lynn is asking about the kickers. The kicker from Minnesota, Dan Bailey, is playable. The other kicker, you could play him too. But for the Redskins kicker to be scoring in this game, what you're saying is the 17-point favored total situation, that you might as well bet. If that's going to happen, you should also just bet on Washington. Because if they're allowing their kicker to continue to kick, that means the game will be closer than the 17-point spread indicates. Now, I like to believe the spread most of the time, because if we're smart enough to outthink the spread, we should just bet on that. It's an easier way to make money. So if you think that the Washington kicker can have a good game, what you're basically saying, especially on FanDuel, where it's expensive to pay for a kicker, essentially what you're saying is they're going to keep the game close. Because when you're down by 21 points, the last thing you're doing is kicking a field goal. You're going to go for it. And yes, this is what you do. You get all of the Minnesota studs in your lineup. This is a very my problem in cash is is that what you said? I saw a comment from Josh. Yeah, I mean, I don't know who's not going to use this in cash. Like, it's almost such an easy cash lineup. Tell me if I'm crazy, guys, but like, you're only distinguishing yourself in cash between who of these guys you're going to choose. And of course, for me, it's Dan Bailey. This is the easiest cash lineup I've ever made. It's easy. That was easy. That's how you make money. The problem is you're probably going to tie with everybody. Probably going to tie. But that's how that goes. So that pretty much concludes this. If you guys, I didn't show this before, but in case you didn't know, now you know. Brian, remember, we're not trying to be contrarian in cash. That's very, very important to note. Very, very important. You don't want to be contrarian. So when we talk about cash games, we're not talking about, hey, let's find a way to get cute and be contrarian. As a matter of fact, we want our opponent to think like this and do something cute or contrarian. We don't need to do that. We just want to be smart and chalk with our cash game approach. So let your opponent do the cute stuff, right? Now, Cousins in GPP, of course. Like, there's a reason why I'm not going to go 100% Dalvin Cook in GPP, even though that feels like the most likely scenario that's going to happen, right? One might say, let me just fucking use 100% Dalvin Cook in GPP because he's going to score the most points. There's no doubt in my mind. And I kind of think that's probably true, but people who said that, if I would have said that on that night when the Panthers took on the Bucks on Thursday Night Football, I wouldn't have won the 23K by fading Christian McCaffrey. Like, of course, I thought that Christian McCaffrey was going to be the highest scorer. Everybody did. He's Christian McCaffrey. But all of a sudden, he has a shitty game. It's a Thursday Night Football game, and he has a bad game. The team wants to rest him. And this is why Alexander Matheson is so interesting, because Dalvin Cook just had a big workload on Sunday. It's Thursday. People don't think about this on the Thursday game. The team might be thinking, we just fucking worked the shit out of this dude. We're about to smash this team. As soon as they go up, they start to, even early in the game, they start to bring in Matheson a little bit more than they normally do. And you're like, hey, what the fuck is going on here? I got Dalvin Cook in the captain spot. And what's this Matheson guy doing over here? Yes. Antoine, when you fade him in GPP, like, let's, when you say fading him, don't go 100%. If it don't go 0 either. You know what I'm saying? Like, fading him might be the field will be 85% and you're going to be like 65. That's a big fade. Fade is against ownership. You shouldn't just, I'm not going to play Dalvin Cook tonight. Don't do that. Fade him by going below the field, but don't not play him. Where are we? Just a little note, the Statsational model, Minnesota, 183 yards rushing expected. Not a ton of passing yards because, again, the model knows that when Minnesota is able to run the football, they will do it. There's no more of this bitching wide receiver situation because they've satisfied those guys. Okay? Stephon Diggs has had massive games since he went on his fucking whinge fest. So he's satisfied now. And now the coach who wants to play conservative is going to be able to. He's going to say, you know what? It's Thursday. We don't have a lot of time. Dalvin Cook, he just played on Sunday. He's still a little sore. Let's bring in Alexander Matheson. Yeah, with 5 lineups, that's a different story, Antoine. And I don't mind that approach at all, as long as you're comfortable with not cashing any of them if it doesn't work. You know what you're doing. I can tell by the comments that you're making. And Big T is talking about the run defense. Absolutely. Totally different. Right now, you don't play running backs against Tampa. Washington's running back. Washington's run defense is shit. It's shit. Yeah. Absolutely true. But if you look at the Statsational model, which has been spectacular, and this is a DFS Army subscriber special, something no one else has. This is why we dominate. You use this fucking chart. It tells you which teams should do what and how. This is very important because it removes a lot of the noise that DVP gives you. That DVP is a bullshit number. This is the real. Because these numbers are against the average. They're weighted. And the expectation here is that Minnesota is just going to do their damage on the ground. And that Washington, 187 passing yards. So like they could produce a pass catcher of quality. But I mean, do you want to pay up for Terry McLaurin in that situation or take shots? Only in crazy GPPs. In cash, we can't take shots with this. 72 yards, fuck that. I mean, we'll use Wendy Smalls because he's the cheapest. Yes. They definitely work together in a lineup. And I don't hate them together in a cash lineup like on DraftKings. I really don't. I don't dislike it at all. They work together because if it's a smash game, then both will score enough. You saw last week with the Patriots, Sony Michel got 3 touchdowns, but James White got one called back. A second one, he got knocked down on the 1 yard line. It was very, very close to both of those guys having big games. Very close. I'm trying to look for any more questions. Let's jump over to Superdraft real quick. We love Superdraft. Easy money. Lots of overlay. We got some projections going for Superdraft for tonight. If you're not a Superdraft subscriber, and let's say you're watching this video because I made it public today, and you want to check out DFS Army for a month, like, hey, what the fuck are these guys doing? Like, what are they doing behind closed doors that I don't get to see in this video? Well, you've seen a lot of our tools in this video, to be quite honest. You haven't seen the DOM station, the optimizer, but you've seen a lot of our stuff. But if you want to get in there, I put in the description a link over to our free offer page. Non-DFS Army members can get a free month of DFS Army VIP when they sign up for this site, Superdraft. It's an awesome site, very easy to win on. Use promo code ARMY, Superdraft. And then let us know. You email us. There's a whole instruction. Go to this free offer right here, right there. See that? Click on that. For you guys who are already DFS Army VIP subscribers, if you do the Superdraft thing, we'll give you a free month of Beat the Bookie. So, let Tex or somebody know that you did it. We'll hook it up. Love giving out the free months. All right. So, anywho, who are we going to use? Dalvin Cook. All of the good players here are 1.0 multiplier. But I think, for example, some of these guys should score so much that it doesn't matter. Wendy Smallwood was probably my favorite. All right, this is going to be the guy that I'm going to be all about. His projection is unnaturally low because the expectation is that Adrian Peterson is playing and he's going to get these 7 points. I understand that he's playing. The projection system says he's questionable. He's probably going to play. But I think that this guy is going to be ineffective. So I think it goes to Wendy Smalls. I like the 4.5 multiplier. I like the 4.5 or the 3.5 I can get on Bailey. I like Alexander Matheson here. I like Sprinkle. I like these players that give me 4x multipliers. Not Steven Sims Sr., though. It's Junior. Sorry. Antoine, I'm not going there on Superdraft. I can't do it. Not going to do it. But Yeah, a Matheson, if you think he gets 4 points, he's not going to get you there. But 4 points times 4 is still 19. But if this guy gets you 10 points or 12, he scores a touchdown, he's going to blast through everyone. He's going to put up 45, 50 points on this thing. Olabisi, sure, if he gets any action. Dan Bailey, if he kicks 4 field goals times 3.4, he's going to get you over 30. So this is where I want to live. And I'm excited to play this just to throw Wendy Smalls as my champion. Now, if you're in DFS Army Slack, in our chat, there's a reasonably good chance that that you will see me posting some of these YouTube videos after some of these guys that I've mentioned here score and break the slate open. So get ready for that. Meanwhile, if there's no more questions, I'm going to wrap it up here. Good luck tonight. Let's kick some ass. Let's take some names. I wish I could repeat the line from Biggie Smalls is the illest, but I can't remember it about the hose and the banging, and it was something about banging hose. I can't remember what it was. HGT likes to bet the props. You should have seen my video on the Jets game, on the Jets Patriots, where we looked at the props on the DraftKings Sportsbook, and like all the Jets players were so high. I was like, bet the under, bet the under, bet the under. So I hope a lot of you guys who watched the video from the Jets Patriots bet the under on Sam Darnold 15.5, on Robbie Anderson 12.5. What the fuck was that? On all the Jets props, 20 points for Le'Veon Bell, please, against the Patriots. I'm going to check that out next, man. Maybe drive over to Jersey and play some of these bets on those fantasy totals. But for now, we'll cut it off here. Good job, guys. Thanks for joining us. Remember, if you're watching this video and you want to see more like this, don't forget to like and subscribe to the DFS Army video. We have videos going out constantly. NBA, every fucking sport. You want to learn DFS, subscribe. Even if you're not a DFS Army subscriber, this is the cheat code. Because when we do these lives, they go out to everybody. So this is a really good cheat code. Like, subscribe. We're going to give out. We always have some sort of offer for a free month as well. So for those of you who are DFS Army subs, I will be in my channel in our Slack as always, talking the game, loading up. Meanwhile, it's going to be a busy afternoon because I also got to load up on some NBA lineups. Check out Keg's sheet. So that's going to be awesome. This is the best time of year. 4 sports going simultaneous. It's crazy. So let's continue to crush it, everyone. Good luck tonight. Hell yeah. Razzle sheets, man. Been fucking money in the bank. If you guys aren't following this and playing these single game MLB slates, like, have you not seen a DFS Army sub winning every single one of these? It's ridiculous. So I'm a man, Razzle. Good job. Good job. All right. That's it, everyone. Take care.